Oh, I'm getting an important phone call. I gotta go.
Yeah,
Sorry.
sure.
Yes, I scalloped.
Live long
my God.
and serve and prosper in that.
Hey, how are you? Hello?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah, not good, I heard.
No. If you
Mm.
asked me yesterday, about literally 24 hours ago, I probably would have said, better. I'm not great right now. I'm gonna be honest.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine, given the circumstances.
How much do you know?
I woke up today to a text message indicating that Richard was in the ICU. I then received a phone call indicating that during the con, which unfortunately I didn't attend because I'm an idiot, Richard may have said something he shouldn't have, which he may not have even been made aware of. I don't know.
I'll tell you what it was. Remember the thing I told you about Isaac? Not to speak of Isaac.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this is where, oh God, I almost hit a chase. I was intended to tell Dark, and yesterday when I talked to you at the church, I told Dark, I said, I need to urgently talk to you. He said, well, I don't feel good. I'm sick. I said, okay, then call me tomorrow. We need to talk before this meeting. And we're sitting at the meeting, and it occurred to me and rang to me that I never informed him like I was instructed to about talking about Isaac. Norman blamed me for what happened to Dark yesterday.
Okay, well, that's not your fault.
I know.
It's not like anyone could have predicted this.
No.
Listen, I don't necessarily know that we have time to like harp on the past. Considering we have very little time.
We have tomorrow.
Yep. I have a suggestion.
Do you know the new deal?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
We need to speak to Tessa.
Nope.
What do you mean no?
Nope.
What do you mean no?
We and you should not talk to Tessa about this.
Why?
Matt, where are you?
By City Hall.
I'm coming to City Hall. I will tell you in person. I'm not telling you over the phone.
Okay, meet me at the VLC parking garage.
I think I know where that is. The one near...
Okay, meet me north of VLC on Spanish.
Okay, yeah. Got it. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Good morning.
Morning. I don't know that you understand the concept of good.
Well, my concept of good is that I'm not dead yet.
Okay.
What did you just
You're
do?
gonna really need to explain why we can't talk to Tessa.
This is gonna be easier to explain if I ask you first.
What I know?
What you should... What you want to talk to Tessa about?
I was told that there is a person that has or knows the solution to this. In addition, I was told that Norman is friends with Tessa. And in addition to that, I was told that the person picked for you was Kiki, who is Tessa's significant other. So it would make no sense for me to believe that Norman, who is friends with Tessa, would make you hurt Tessa's significant other unless there was something else associated with that. So why can't we speak to Tessa?
Do you know how much Norman and Tessa are friends?
No. No, I don't.
Okay. I was at that meeting yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And the meeting happened, and there were a lot of faces there. There were a lot of people there. Everyone was masked up. And in the middle of that meeting was a large majority of people who didn't speak up. And I thought it was very interesting that certain people showed up to that meeting to listen and not actually exert anything to give out to anybody. I would honestly go on a limb and say that the meeting was overall unproductive.
Right? Because people are unwilling to say anything.
Yeah.
Or I imagine if they did say something, it was something that everyone already knew and therefore was pointless. And they tried to make it seem like they were being helpful despite the fact that they knowingly gave nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good start. I spoke up. I didn't hide who I was. I can't with these phone calls right now. I spoke up quite a bit, and part of what I spoke up about was stuff relating to Norman himself. I avoided the topic of Isaac entirely, and I can talk to you about Isaac. I can't talk to anyone else about Isaac. But I didn't instruct or have an opportunity to tell Dark. I texted him numerous times in the middle of that meeting, please be careful what you say. Do not bring up his brother. And it wasn't enough. But I didn't want to make a scene in front of everybody. So everything happened to Dark. I called Kiki directly to come to the island because Dark was not feeling okay. And that something happened. His hand was turning black. His veins were black. Something wasn't, something was wrong. And I got clarification from Norman on what was going on. And one of the things that came up was that I said, can I go to Pillbox or Viceroy with you, Kiki? She goes, yeah, absolutely, right? So only certain people were contacted about Dark being in the ICU or even in the hospital. One of those people being myself. Pond, you were informed via text, and a small handful of people, right? And while I'm in the back room with Dark, in walks Tessa. And someone looked and went, oh, hey, Tessa. She goes, hey. And they said, did someone call you here? She goes, no, I just felt like showing up. I don't know how I found my way here, but I'm here. Matt, let me explain something to you. We were on a secluded island having a conversation. Something happens to Dark. You go to Pillbox. Or I'm sorry, Viceroy.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the back room of Viceroy. No doctors are talking about this. It is HIPAA to bring up with other people that certain people are in the back room of an ICU. Your name isn't on the list, right? You come in the back room and your immediate response is, well, I don't know how I ended up here. Tessa was at that meeting and lied to everybody in that back room. She had to have been at that meeting to know exactly where Dark was going to be and to know where everybody else was going to be. And for her to not even just say, oh, someone called me here, which would have been way more believable, she decided to say, well, I don't know how I ended up here. She was at that meeting and she didn't say a fucking word. And she was one of the few people who didn't say a word. And it concerns me to think that she tried to find a way out of that one, but there is no doubt in my mind she was at that meeting and lied to everybody's faces.
What did you just do?
I told her to leave the ICU. I told her to get the fuck out.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Give me the timeline between when Richard was, everything was happening to him in terms of his hand, his arm, whatever the situation is, and then what happened until that stuff stopped. How did that go?
I need you to clarify that. Are you saying the injuries from Dark, or are you saying from the time Dark was hurt on the island to the time we were at Viceroy? You asking for that timeline?
Yeah.
Dark's hurt. He's laying on the ground. I run over to try and provide a little bit of medical. Balto was there trying to provide medical and did everything that he could to stabilize as best he could. For about 30 seconds, Dark was unofficially dead. He had no pulse. Balto was able to get a pulse back. I called Kiki, and Kiki said, I'm on a call. I'm on a 52 request. I will make my way. So she made her way about, I'm going to say 5-ish minutes later, 10-ish minutes later, maybe, like 10 being a long time. As soon as Kiki got there, they hooked him up to O negative and O2. And immediately I said, Kiki, let me take a ride with you. We flew to Viceroy. We landed at Viceroy. Dark was immediately brought into the surgery room. He came out of surgery and was immediately from the very last surgery room brought immediately to the back room where the ICU is, where the doors were then locked. And I said, I don't want anyone else back here except for the emergency contacts. The only people that showed up in the back were Balto, myself, law enforcer for about half a second, and I'm missing somebody, and Pixie. Besides the doctors, we're standing there for about, I don't know. I couldn't really give you a time on how long we were really standing there. It could have been 10 minutes. It could have been 30. There was so much happening yesterday. But in walks Tessa, and the doctor looked and said, how did you get here? And she goes, I don't know. I just found my way here. Who walks in the back of an ICU room? And everyone said, well, unless anyone has anything to say otherwise, I don't see a problem. I said, I see a problem. You can leave. I said, get the fuck out of here.
When did the feather come into play?
The feather came into play. You're talking about the one that Dark had?
The white feather.
Yeah. So the white feather, law enforcer, apparently from what I was explained and told, at some point was given this white feather. I have reason to believe, I think she was at that meeting, but she was given that white feather. And the way the white feather was read to everybody was that it's considered hope. It is a sign of hope. Dr. Lennon, who's married to Bundy, has a bird named Hope. And this white feather, single white feather, was given to Forcer yesterday. I don't know how she acquired it. I don't know where she got it. I think it was in her pocket. And she was instructed by Storm to run to the ICU room and to hand it to Dark. Dark had just had his hand cut off, was not talking, was under heavy anesthetic. And she placed the white feather in Dark's hand, and he gripped the white feather. At some point throughout this, Kiki walked in the back to approach Dark. She was the one that transported him. And as she approached, the feather turned black. This was after the surgery. And this was after the phone call I had with Norman, where I asked him why he couldn't spare 2 days. And he would have gotten what he was going to get anyway in 2 days if he had just waited. And he then called me back and said, change it. For a second.
You're good.
After that phone call, was when I was in the back room again, telling Dark to not lose hope. And all I told him was to grip that feather as tightly as possible and to not lose hope. As Kiki approached that feather, it turned black. As she stepped away, it turned white. In walks Tessa. And that's when I told her to leave.
Did Tessa get close to that feather?
No. I didn't give her an opportunity.
And we have no idea where Lauren got Who gave Lauren the feather?
Either Lauren had the feather in her pocket, the feather was in her pocket after that meeting, or I want to say Storm gave Lauren the feather. I remember there was so much that happened yesterday. I want to say that Storm told Lauren, run as quickly as possible to the hospital and give Dark this feather. Lauren handed Dark the feather. He gripped it and she goes, oh my God, I was right. I was fucking right. It's hope. The feather symbolizes hope.
I'm confused about the Kiki involvement, though. But if you don't think Tessa needs to be spoken to figure out what the fuck's going on, how else do you explain how she got there? How else do you explain why suddenly Kiki is your target? How do you explain the feather turning black as
into your deal?
I don't know.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm not even trying to blame anyone. I'm not pointing fingers. Just how did I get roped into this? I never agreed to a deal. I am honestly starting to, I really, genuinely, the consideration that I have is that I think Norman went against his own deal with you. He's essentially conflicted me out of your own deal.
I mean, not wrong. Wait, hold on. Andy had a deal in which Norman couldn't uphold his end of the bargain. I think it was Andy, and as a result, he pretty much made that deal null and void.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not what he did in this situation?
It seems like he conflicted your own deal if he's trying to get me to make a deal. And
hold on, Storm's calling me.
yeah, she just, oh no, you hit a bird.
Sorry,
Anyway.
I was making sure that the seats in the back are big enough. Sometimes I don't remember.
No, it's all good.
Can you tell Forcer we're coming to pick her up? Find out where she's at.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Lauren, Matt and I are coming to pick you up. Whereabouts are you? Okay, all right. Sounds good. Yeah, meet us out front. We are in a Mustang with Matt's call sign on it, so. Yep, see you in a minute. Bye-bye. Should I go on duty?
If you want. I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you trust Storm?
Storm has provided so much information. I don't know if it's all valid or if it's all accurate. I'm going to say probably not all accurate.
But could that be because she's conveying information she got from other people and she's just being open? Or are you saying not accurate in a malicious way where she's...
No.
Okay.
I don't think she's malicious. I had about a 3-hour conversation with her, Pond, and a slew of people yesterday who all actively stepped forward to say, who all stepped up to say that they wanted to help us, help me, and wanted to try and come up with some kind of solution.
All right. Hop on in.
Hello. Thank you.
I'll go on duty later.
Morning.
Morning. You know, right, you might find this funny. I'm sure Flop is filled you in on some of the details.
Yeah.
But, you know what really sort of gave away the identity of a big group? They gave away their identity. Was really good fucking idea, which later on turned out seemed to actually mean something, and I was completely ignored, and that's how I realized that half the people there were officers.
At the meeting?
Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh fuck yeah. There were a good majority of officers in that room.
And
Hold on.
Hello?
Hi, Flop.
There we go.
Oh, hi guys.
Hey.
Hello.
Officer!
Apologies. An emergency. An officer's being shot.
I like that one. That's good. That's good. But let's be honest, it's probably true even if I'm off duty.
Okay.
Lord.
All right. I think we should.
Oh, you want to find a nice spot?
Yeah. Have any ideas?
Do you remember where I used to go hang out with Diaz?
Yeah. Well, generally. You want to go ahead and mark it up?
Off of. Okay.
Would it have been easier if I went Great Ocean? That's okay.
I think a lot of people. I'm so glad half of them were anonymous, but a lot of people showed their true colors last night, and it.
Oh, I mean, process of elimination, it was very easy to tell who was who.
Yeah, not to mention that I've already told Matt that I did feel like that the meeting was overall unproductive and felt a lot like everybody was in it for themselves.
Oh no, 100% they were.
So that was clear put. And honestly, Storm, last night when we were all at the house talking, that was probably the most productive thing to come out of yesterday. Whether it got us nowhere or somewhere,
It got us together.
it was civil. It
got
was
us
exactly what it needed
together.
to be.
Yeah, it got us together with the people that aren't in it for themselves.
So again, I wasn't there, but I got a TLDR, if you will, in that most people didn't volunteer much information at all. They were pretty much there to gather information.
Yeah, Bryce
and-
was pushing so hard for people to give information, but
I
wasn't really
was-
giving everything back.
I tried.
Literally, yeah, Forcer was the only person there that actually was like, we're fucking running out of time, and everybody just didn't say anything.
I have no fucking clue what's going on, but from what Bryce shared, I found that thread and I started pulling on it. And the next thing I know, I'm literally come face to face with that, with this fucking bird, with the angle that I'm going for. I get something from it. It's so fucking dumb.
Well, I think the issue was that you stepped up and literally said, hey, we're running in circles and no one's coming to a conclusion. Let's come to a conclusion. Let's focus on what we know. Let's talk about these birds. And everyone was just, no pun intended, but everybody was literally just sitting there dead.
Does anyone know if Cindy Tipton was there?
No, she wasn't.
Okay. The only reason I ask is because I've had conversations with her. She is continuously told me that she does not have a deal, and yet I've seen her there many times.
Oh no, Cindy is definitely a person that I can sit there and say she most likely has a deal. Whether Cindy's intentions aren't good, I don't think. I've seen her talking to the highwayman multiple times. So.
Don't even get hunters out this way anymore. It's great.
There's only one person I know that hunts out this way, and it's Bundy.
320 Cent 7 Emotion King. I'm with Lauren, Flop, and Storm off of Cassidy Trail.
welfare checks, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
So, where the fuck do we start?
I'm
Where
gonna
do
turn
we
off your
start?
car.
Please do.
Well, instead of, I think the only.
I don't have keys. The rumble's just
I'll
gonna bother
do it,
me.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Well, I noticed everyone was just trying to find out what he was.
Norman, okay, Norman is Death and Norman
Yeah, but
co-joins.
it doesn't matter what he is. What we need to know is how we can stop this deal going through. We can work out once we get Dark and everyone, if we get these guys off the hook.
I'll be honest, I don't think the deal's something that we can just get rid of unless we get rid of Norman. We have less than 48 hours.
But I don't know if that's true, and here's why. When me and Richard went there specifically to discuss our deal, he was only willing to make that deal inside that lighthouse. It was like it almost as if it was something that made it official, right? It was almost as if he had the inability to make a deal outside of that lighthouse, and yet somehow he roped Flop into this despite that not happening. Why?
Did everybody that made a deal go into that lighthouse?
No.
Okay.
Who has gone in? Who's made a deal?
I know Snow's gone in, but I don't know if Snow has a deal.
Bryce.
Bryce. I mean, there's multiple people that have walked in and out of the lighthouse.
But it doesn't necessarily mean a deal was made.
Yeah. I mean, and I've heard that from Norman himself. Many people have walked in and out of the lighthouse. And also, Cody confirmed that many people have walked in and out of the lighthouse and not made a deal. I mean, Cody walked in there the other day and didn't make a deal. So, I don't think, I think the lighthouse is just, I don't know what it is, but I don't think it's the only place that Norman can make deals. I think Norman has the ability to make deals wherever the fuck he wants, and that's what he's going to do. I think the lighthouse is just something that he likes. He likes people being desperate and going there, and then he uses that vulnerability to his advantage.
But even we know he can get people outside of the lighthouse because of what happened to Dark on that island.
Oh yeah, the lighthouse has no relevance, I don't think. I think it's just...
Okay. What about Forcer, the feather? What happened there? What was that?
Everyone on that island was, again, it was, everyone was just going in circles. I was trying to push for some sort of angle. I got nothing. When Richard fell to the ground, everyone crowded around him. Of course, he's one of my best friends. I literally can't do fucking anything because not a single person there was listening. Everyone's out for themselves. Of course, Richard falls down. They all attend to him. I dropped the mask. I swam off the island and I ran all the way along the coast up to the lighthouse. And I was at the cliff just a little to the sort of south of it. So the other side of the bridge, and I was there looking. I looked through my binoculars to see any sign of movement. Because again, you know what? I was desperate, I was vulnerable, and I'll be honest, I've not got much going for me at the moment, Rhodes. And I was just in that moment. I was so fucking desperate. I was ready to just give everything up to make sure Dark was okay. But as soon as I dropped the binoculars, a bird flew up next to me. This white seagull with bright blue eyes landed right next to me. It looked at me for a second, then took off, and as it flew off, it left a feather behind. I took that feather, and I drove straight to the hospital and gave it to Dark. I looked into it a little bit, and receiving a feather, it's a sign of protection that someone, something, angels, spirits, I don't fucking know. Someone is looking out for you and looking over you, and while you're protected. So that's what led me to believe I was fucking right. I was onto something, and it has to do with those birds.
The
Bryce mentioned.
white seagull, yes. Norman's other birds, no. Norman's the birds, the crows, Noxie, everything like that, they aren't entirely tied to Norman. They just want the same thing that he does, and that's death and chaos.
So I will say this: the day that myself and Richard went to the lighthouse, I did bring a I did bring a very big weapon, specifically a sniper, and you know, at this time, let me just finish. At this time, it was more so a, I don't know what the hell's going on. You know, the pettiness in me was like, surely there's a loophole. There's something. How can I piss him off? And I shot a single shot into the sky, not at anything specific. And the intent was to piss him off and imply that I had shot a bird. And the moment I had done that, he came out and said something to the extent of, and when I shot, I yelled, you know, I forget what it was, but essentially I got the bird or whatever. He came out and he essentially implied that if I had done that, he would have felt it. Now, I'm not sure if that's the bird specifically. I'm not sure if that's, you know, just death in general. That's what I would assume it to be. But it did piss him off enough for him to come outside and acknowledge that that happened.
I mean, right now Norman only has one crow ghost because Noxie is preoccupied with something else. Which,
What
I mean,
about
if you guys,
Smoke?
Smoke is Andy's bird.
Oh, it's not Norman's? Was it originally Norman's?
I don't know. All I know is that Andy was given Smoke. Smoke's just a bird. I think.
Okay, all right.
Smoke's but Norman has two birds. I didn't know this until like the other day when there was notes on the lighthouse saying for Noxie and for Ghost. And I asked Cody, and Cody said, yes, Norman has two birds, Noxie and Ghost. Noxie's preoccupied dealing with the chicken man, which means if your theory is right, you take out Ghost. Norman's weaker. Now, I mean, Bolto said that the birds are just birds.
That's bullshit, because I've seen one of those birds try to set the chicken man on fire.
I mean, in the sense of, like, they do their own thing. They're not
Okay,
necessarily
all
tied
right.
to Norman.
Okay, that makes
Sorry,
sense.
I just received a text. It was just hello. Hi, I don't know who this is. I don't have the number saved. Who do you think it is?
Oh, that's probably Norman.
No, I've had Norman. Norman said the same thing, but this isn't Norman.
What's the number?
628-153-0625.
I don't have it. 153, you said?
That's Greenway.
It looks Greenway.
An officer.
Oh,
Yeah.
Paul. Paul. Oh.
Yeah, Norman likes to do the, hello, who is this?
I'm gonna just save this number right quick. I'll be in my phone.
I don't think that the birds mean anything. I have my trust in Bolto. Bolto is like Dr. Dolittle, and he's worked very hard with the birds. And if Bolto says that the birds have nothing to do with Norman, I'm gonna take his word for it.
Yeah, I would too. But I'm still trying to make sense of why Kiki, especially if Norman... Wait. Okay, sorry, something just popped into my mind. So let's run through this together. Norman and Tessa, good friends.
The thing, like, I've read his journal and he never mentions Tessa in there. At the very end, he says that Pixie Plum's crazy, but there's no talk of Tessa in there.
I mean, Pixie is crazy.
People have told me though that I guess Tessa is good friends with Norman.
Right. But if that's the case,
Why
why
would Norman hurt Kiki?
would Norman target her significant other?
Unless Tessa has some involvement in this that we don't know about.
Tessa and Norman a very, very long time ago. I think I was just a cadet. And you remember the old cadet queue? To be fair, it's not too much different. And I used to just hang around, do my own thing. And no, Tessa and Norman gave me a lift to work one day. They didn't talk much. They offered me a lift, and
I have a question. Storm, this is going to be targeted to you because you are at the lighthouse the most, given that you live there pretty much. Have you seen Tessa there at all?
Nope. Never. What if Tessa and Norman aren't good friends, but in fact partners?
I'm trying to figure out Kiki's involvement.
What was Tessa before she was a cop?
Tessa. There's no other way to explain her.
driving instructor.
Lover of
Matt.
animals.
Yeah. Her and Matt go way back.
There has to be a reason as to why Norman.
Well, Norman has a... Because I remember his time as a lawyer. And I remember what... It was weird. It was weird because I knew him as a lawyer, and then I found out about his execution through snow. Do you remember Chastity Dark-Rhodes?
Yeah.
You know where we caught her?
Oh God.
Oh man, I remember doing
Do you remember the whole...
the going through and referencing a million different things to try to figure out where someone was. And
when we caught her and when she finally pulled over the car, do you know where that spot was?
jog my memory. Oh my god, it's been so long.
Snow was freaking out because that is the exact spot he caught Norman Bones.
Where was the spot?
Just before the tunnel. The mountain tunnel when you're heading up Sonora.
Like the Braddock Pass?
Braddock Pass, yes. If you're traveling southbound out of Great Ocean.
South. Okay.
Just before that tunnel, that turning.
You're right. Yes, yeah. Right at the bend. You're right. Yeah.
So
oh my
Norman
god.
never killed her then. Because in his
no,
journal...
he didn't catch. He didn't get Chastity. Chastity came after Norman.
Yeah,
Chastity,
but then...
someone I had been chasing for the better half of that year.
That was the serial assaults and killings, wasn't it?
Okay. No, it wasn't serial assaults. No, because that didn't exist back then.
Well, that's what eventually that became, but there wasn't a charge, so wasn't it like
law?
Oh yeah.
It went from attempted murder to assault with a deadly.
Yeah.
It literally says here on
she
the
got
4th...
assault with a deadly?
Yeah.
Times 28.
It says here on the 4th of the 4th, 2018, Chastity Dawes, she had become a liability. People were starting to piece things together with her being around. She was the last thing left of Funny Man, because she had morals. She can no longer be trusted. So I had Rebecca and Wyatt help. We brought her up north and gave us lots of useful information. We pulled guns on her and told her she had outlived her usefulness. Leto Bay cliff face near the beach.
Christ.
I'm just trying to figure out the Kiki Tessa sort of involvement here,
There's
right?
there's
Okay.
there's two theories that I have. Either something happened where Norman wants to get at Tessa, or like it says in his journal, friends leave loose ends. Maybe this is Norman's way of tying up his loose ends with Tessa and getting rid of that friendship.
Why that though? Unless the only thing I can think of here is Kiki is the gap between Norman and Tessa. And maybe Kiki has been the one to push for Tessa to not associate with. I don't know, right? But let's run with this theory here. In the event where Kiki is out of the question, unless this is a way to rope Tessa in to a deal, because if Kiki ends up hurt and is in purgatory, who do you think is going to make a deal for her?
But my question is, why now would Norman want Tessa to make a deal? Tessa has nothing to do with any of this, and
She's my best friend and has been for a very long time.
why now?
Why did Norman want our deal now?
If Tessa found out that Rhodes was getting in, you know, if Rhodes is involved in this.
Okay, so let's run on this theory. Question. Because, man, I think out of anything I've heard in the last 2 days, you're onto something that I think could apply. Do we, because based on what Lauren said, Norman and Tessa were friends. The question is, are they still
Years
friends?
ago.
Yes. Are they still friends? Do they still talk? Are they privatized about it? Or is Norman trying to set up Tessa with a deal? And the question then becomes, is it safe for us to approach Tessa and ask her if she has a deal with death?
Matt's the only person that could probably ask her that.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable approaching her, considering I just told her to get the fuck out of the hospital.
No, Matt is the only person that can speak to her. No one else can.
I agree.
But I know we keep this kept happening at the meeting too. And right now, you guys have less than 48 hours to sort this shit out.
We have 24.
You have 24 hours then. And so far, we've got nothing. The one thing that we do know is that these white birds.
I know a lot. The reason I didn't speak about the meeting is because I knew Andy Jones would be there, and if Andy Jones had the information that I would, it could fuck over a lot of people. That's why I didn't speak up.
I think a lot of people showed up to the meeting that probably shouldn't have been there. I'm going to be honest. I'm not even saying names, but I do think that a lot of people were there to damage than they were to actually do anything.
Oh no, 100%.
I don't trust I don't trust anyone. Like I probably shouldn't have been there, but as soon as Dark told me that he's in trouble, it's kind of like, listen, motherfucker, I'm not losing you.
Okay, but did Flop explain the situation with Tessa afterwards?
No.
Because that's why I'm consistently going back to Tessa.
Do you want me to explain? I was going to keep this to you so that you could do your talking and your bargaining, but if you feel like I should bring this up now, I will. I was just very uncomfortable with the idea of proposing it to 20 people in a circle. You know what I mean?
I have no problems with you bringing it up here. What do we have to lose?
You're right. Okay. So we had the meeting yesterday. Everything happened with the meeting, right? And Dark was poisoned and he had black veins and a black hand, right? And I called Kiki.
How was he poisoned?
I know why he was poisoned.
No, but I mean, how? Like
Norman. He didn't follow through with something that is part of our deal that we are not allowed to explain. Otherwise, it's all of our heads. I'll say this. There's something that he should not have said during that meeting.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that.
So that's why what happened to Dark happened to Dark, and Norman tried to blame it on me, but realistically, I warned him, and I'm not blaming anyone. It's just what happened, and we can't dwell on the past right now. We need to just move forward with what we have. So Dark's on the ground. I call over. I try and start providing medical. Balto gets there before me. Balto said, I know Kiki's on duty. I said, okay. I run over. I call Kiki. I said, Kiki, I need you to drop anything that you're doing right now, and I need you to make your way over to this island. Dark's been poisoned. Something's happening to him. He doesn't have a pulse. And while I'm saying this, I hear that he has a light pulse. So I tell Kiki he has a light pulse. I need you over here. He's not doing good. So Kiki said that she was on a call and she would be over there immediately. 5, at most 10 minutes later, at absolute most 10 minutes later, helicopter flies in. Kiki comes in, hooks up O2 and O negative, and says, all right, let's go. I said, do you mind if I come with you? She goes, yes, you can come with. So I get in the helicopter with her, and we leave. We get over to Viceroy. A short ride it was to Viceroy. We get out. They grab Dark. They immediately put him in the furthest OR room. And whatever it was, 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, he was brought from the OR to the ICU. And I went back there, and I specifically stated to Jeffy and everybody else that nobody is to come back here unless they're in emergency contact. I wanted to make that very clear. So we are back there, and Lauren, around this time, you showed up, I showed up, and I forget who was all back there. Balto, Kiki came back there at one point, right? But overall, I said this needs to stay very under wraps, and for the most part, it did. Next thing I know, around the time after my phone call where my deal changed, or where the deal changed, I'm not gonna say my deal, because to be honest, I don't even think it's my deal. It's really our deal. So I'm gonna say the deal changed. I walked in the back room, and I'm there, and in walks Tessa. And Jeffy looked over and said, "Oh, Tessa, how did you end up here?" And she goes, "I don't really know. I don't know how I ended up here, but I'm here." And Jeffy said, "Well, unless anyone has anything to say otherwise, I don't see a problem with you." I said, "Get the fuck out." I said, "Leave." I said, "Turn around and leave." Because I realized something. Kiki under HIPAA is not allowed to talk about things. Dark was immediately brought into the OR. Tessa was not there in the entire time I was walking around Viceroy. She walks in the back of an ICU room because the door was open, and her explanation was that the door was open. If she said that she got a phone call to go hang out at Viceroy with Kiki, it would have been more believable than, I don't know. Which led me to believe that in the short span that Dark was in OR, from the time he was poisoned to the time he was in OR, to the time that he was brought into the ICU, and to the time that the emergency contacts were listed, the only way Tessa would have known where Dark was and where we all were is if she was at that fucking meeting. It is the only explanation that makes sense.
Tessa was at the meeting.
What do you know about that then? Because that will just lock in everything that I'm saying.
I don't know, but I remember Walker saying that Tessa was at the meeting. She was stood up the whole time. It's very obvious it was her.
Was she the one standing in the... Oh my God. Okay. Holy shit. Okay. I was right then. Okay. There you go. I put that link together. I thought about it after and said, holy shit. I made a connection, and that seals it.
Well,
So I don't know what it means. I don't know what its value is, but
Tessa's at that meeting for a reason, but why?
what has any of this got to do with stopping what's going to happen within 24 hours? It's great getting answers to some things, but right now we need these
Our
people
deal-
off the fucking chopping block.
our deal is with Kiki, which means, and what Matt is bringing up and why I think it's important, why it applies, is if this has to do with Tessa's girlfriend, and this deal involves one of Norman's friends, essentially, and hurting one of Norman's friends, why would Norman go after one of his friends?
What if it's not Norman?
How could we get to that conclusion? I'm willing to hear you out. How would we get to that conclusion?
I mean, it's just a theory, right?
Mhm.
Every deal thus far has been with Norman. What if this deal wasn't with Norman?
There was someone at the meeting who said that Norman wasn't the only person that can bring them back from purgatory. It's the woman with the sort of black corset and the white hair.
Nancy. Last night we all sat, me, Winston, and Cody all sat, and we did process of elimination. And we narrowed down to who was who.
Well, they said that Norman isn't the only person to bring someone back from purgatory.
Did they volunteer any other information?
Nope.
No.
But based on the information, or not information, the theories that I have, Noxie and the Chicken Man are missing. The Chicken Man was last seen the night that Andy shot Cody. The Chicken Man was there, which makes me think that the Chicken Man was using Andy to get to Norman. And Norman's using Andy to get to the Chicken Man. Maybe the Chicken Man made Andy think that he was on her side to bait her to taking him. Because so Noxie's been showing Andy stuff into purgatory. Now, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
think that...
about the eating eyeballs and stuff.
Wait, what?
Yeah, as a whole thing people have been noticing on some of the islands. It's are you familiar with is it like Norse
Ish.
mythology? And
Without-
something
without
with the
eyes.
Odin's birds and eating eyes to see things that you couldn't see before. Like a different sight kind of thing. People have been eating eyeballs and they've been seeing things on the islands around Los Santos. The crows have been leading them.
Okay, to clarify, we could be talking about fish eyes, right?
I haven't got a clue.
Because I have been told that she feeds the birds fish, and specifically they do eat the eyes.
Yeah, it's something like there are things in purgatory that are similar to Los Santos, and people have been seeing similar things that have been spotted within purgatory on the islands surrounding the lighthouse and surrounding this place.
So, if that's the case, then we know Chicken Man and Noxie are somewhere. And now this is just a theory. If what you're saying is right about the eyeballs, after the Andy shooting Cody thing, what if she went and took the Chicken Man to purgatory to bait him so Norman could kill him, and instead of that working, they got trapped there and Nancy bring Andy out?
But what deal would Nancy have? How does she get roped into this?
I mean, she's close with the BBMC, is she not? Dundee's stuck in purgatory.
Which Nancy are we referring to?
Nancy Drew.
The one who runs a lot of the events and the
Wait, that was
businesses.
the one with what's McKinley? That one?
Yep. Ding, ding, ding.
Oh God. Okay.
Do you have something you want to say about Nancy?
No, not in that sense. I'm just trying to figure out everyone's involvement in this fucked up web.
Well, Andy's close with Nancy. Nancy's close with the BBMC. So if Nancy can take Andy out of purgatory, that would make sense as to why they're working together. My question is, how can Nancy take people out of purgatory? Because from Norman's understanding, he's the only person that can. And if he finds out that Nancy can, then that's putting Nancy in danger.
So, oh man, this is This is very upsetting to me as an ex-detective because it would be so great if there was some kind of proper master document on this.
I mean, I have one. It's just a lot of it's theories.
Yeah, no, I don't deal with theories. I deal with absolutes. I'm a goddamn Vulcan.
I mean, like a lot. So, like, I just write my theories on there too, but there is information. I mean, it's kind of all over the place right now. But, I mean, I can share it with you guys.
It's
I'm gonna say this, Lauren, before you shut it down, at least look at what Storm has done, because I'm gonna be honest with you. We have, as a collective, and by we I mean Copper, Snow, right? The people that used to be involved in the investigation. There's nothing we can do from a police stance to that's like saying slapping handcuffs on Norman, right?
oh no, of course.
So I think I think the other theory, the other idea involved in this was that a lot of this is kind of being left off paper, but I'm going to admit Storm has and I will continue to say is the only person who has actively done everything in her power to document and collect day-by-day basis on Norman. And even if there are things that are incorrect, it's still more than we have done as a collective in the PD. And I will be the first to say that.
Again, this is all fucking new to me, so again,
I only found out like the other day, to be fair.
because I just feel it's just constant going in circles. I want a way for Richard and you guys out of this.
I mean, Norman said someone has the answer. There was 12 people sat at that table.
Someone had the answer. I spoke with Cody briefly, and he told me that for a while before the bird actually exploded. For the days leading up to that, bones started appearing on the property, and they eventually started spelling out words. And one of them was Cody can stop him.
How?
I don't know. There was this whole thing about the highwayman, and then him being...
So the highwayman is Cody's dad. The highwayman was part of Cody, and on the night of the lighthouse,
I remember the highwayman. I remember that investigation. That goes way back.
The night of the lighthouse, they agreed for Norman to take the highwayman. However, Cody took too long, so he took Pez too. I don't know how Cody can stop Norman. I really don't, and I'm not willing to put the man I love at risk.
So, okay, let's sort of reshift our focus, because tomorrow it's either Flop or Kiki.
Or all three of you.
I think no matter what happens, it's going to annoy someone, right? Flop kills Kiki, annoys Tessa. If we have the theory that it wasn't Norman that made the deal, that's going to annoy Norman because him and Tessa are close. Flop doesn't go through with the deal, ends up in purgatory. That's going to annoy Death because that's going to be another body stacking up to be a bargaining chip. Norman's not going through with his ends of the deal. You know, he's not fulfilling his purpose. And what Death said to me was, Norman will be useful until he doesn't fulfill his purpose. I mean, he's already not doing that. You know, the role of Death is to take you to your final resting place, not leave them somewhere so you can be a fucking puppet master.
That sounds like what he wants.
It's what Norman wants.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, it's not what Death wants. Now, you know, Death and Norman are the same but separate. Like they're the same to the extent where there's not two separate consciences, you know, but they have different purposes. You know, Norman's a serial killer, and he's acting like one right now, manipulating people, making them feel like they have no choice.
I'm just saying, send him on a date with me. That'll get him.
I don't think Norman has feelings. And he self-diagnosed himself as a sociopath and claimed he doesn't care about anybody, but we all know that's not true. But I'm gonna
Trust me,
just subject.
send him on a date with me, and something will get him.
Hell yeah.
You know what, Forcer? I have a similar thing. I should make him my CI. Now that probably doesn't mean much to y'all, but I've only ever had 2, and both of them ended up dead.
Same, Rhodes.
Ooh.
Rhodes, do you remember Daphne Tillamook?
Yes.
God, that's a name I haven't heard in so long. Oh
You
my
know-
God.
You know, I was thinking about her the other day, and how I met her was, I don't know. Do you remember my investigation on Dazza Dundee?
Yes.
Because I killed Dundee's brother all those years ago. Daphne Tillamook was one of the first victims. Then we stayed in touch, but just as friends. And one day she broke down and she was like, "Lauren, I need to talk to you." So I went, met up with her.
I don't know who's calling me.
We
I'm
were
going to take
just-
this call real quick.
We were just hanging out, doing our thing, talking, and then she sort of broke down. She was like, my MC are tearing themselves apart. And that's when she just completely opened up about the taco shop. I wasn't involved in that investigation. I probably should have said something to
Hey, I'm getting
my
a phone
peers.
call too. I don't know who from.
Yeah.
1 second.
Can you Ocean King on the radio for Nova?
Phone with me.
Motion King.
But yeah, so Daphne ended up opening up completely about this investigation, like about the whole taco shop, and I just told her it's gonna be okay. I'm not gonna look into this. It's not my investigation. But you know, I'm your friend. I'll make sure you stay safe. And of course, she ends up. Well, you never let me read the autopsy report. You forbid me from reading that. It was when Siren Radio became a thing, and the
I
MC
miss
she
Siren
was
Radio.
but the fucking MC that she was a part of, they wrote a song about what they did to her, and they dedicated it to me. Played it on the radio. No, so
Yeah.
they play it on the radio, and at the very end of the song, it just had her screams. I
So we're
have
back.
never-
So we're back to the seducing Norman theory. by the
Oh
sounds
no,
of
I was
it.
just making light of the situation.
Okay, because many people have said let's just fuck him. So I wanted to make sure that wasn't a serious thing.
You know what? Never mind. I'm not even going to go there right now.
Just making light of the situation. But I think speaking with Lennon,
I already did, and I was very tired and said something that I regret saying that I don't think I'll ever be able to take back.
okay.
The bird is the bird disappears on its own. I don't think we need to go to Lennon for the bird. The bird will come to us like it came to you. However, the minute that people find out that the people think that this bird has something to do with it, they're going to try and get that bird.
Okay, but why would
Jesus do this?
the feather be white in the hands of Richard, and as Kiki approaches, turn black?
Maybe Kiki's marked for death. Maybe that's why it turned black.
That hadn't been decided yet, Flop, right? At that
Maybe
point?
it was a warning. Maybe it was a.
The Kiki approached the feather after I had gotten off the phone. After Norman called me back and said that the deal changed. Also, it is unclear on what my I don't like saying my deal because it sounds like the deal has changed, and the deal
What's to say that Norman doesn't change the deal again? You kill Kiki, then Norman changes the deal again. then you guys are just stuck in an endless cycle of just having to murder multiple people.
Let me ask you a question. What if, hear me out, this is going to sound completely like dumb probably, but
If
this
you
is
if
more...
you offer to sacrifice your dog again, I'm going to be very
Nope.
upset.
No. So let's run off the theory that Tessa is friends with Norman. Good friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Really good friends. It's obvious that they've had conversations in the past. People have told me that Tessa and Norman are good friends. Let's assume for a minute that Tessa doesn't have a deal with Norman. And let's say, as of today, let's say we fill Tessa in and she were to go to the lighthouse and offer Kiki as a sacrifice. Would Norman accept a deal from Tessa? This sounds dumb as shit, but just give it some thought for a minute. If Norman is truly friends with Tessa, who is Norman usually friends with? Wait a minute. Hold on. I need to go back to a journal. Bear with me. You guys talk amongst yourselves. I just realized something.
No, you're good.
Okay.
I just think that the targeting of Kiki seems very
Yeah, it seems very out of place.
especially if friends with Tessa, right? So again, everything is leading me back to Tessa. Why, I don't know, but here we are.
El
Tessa-
Tesso.
Has Tessa done something to piss Norman off?
I have no idea. It's not like I've approached Tessa and said I have a deal. Who knows? Maybe she's got one too.
She's not going to talk to anyone but you, Rhodes.
Yeah, that much I'd believe.
In the space of 24 hours, something has happened for Norman to change the deal. Was it because Norman knew that Tessa was there? Maybe, I mean, Norman said to me that everybody that wants to kill him is going to pay. If Norman saw Tessa there, maybe he thinks Tessa was there to kill him. Maybe that's why he changed the deal, because he thinks that Tessa betrayed him.
Okay, well, let me just... I don't want Norman dead. I want Norman to get help.
I made an interesting connection.
What?
Do you guys know of Norman's help that he had back in the day?
No.
Do you know about Chastity Dawes?
Yes.
Do you
Yes,
know
I
why Chastity Dawes was killed?
Because, based on the journal, because she was a loose end. She was a friend. She knew too much.
She had morals. The only people Norman has ever been friends with are people that don't have morals.
Chastity was well, when I was investigating Chastity, it must have been maybe 2019. I think they hurt her. I don't think they killed her, because her death was only a couple of years ago and it came so suddenly. We never found out who did it.
Do we know how she died?
She was shot down at the Vinewood Bowl.
Doesn't that almost rule out... Wait. Where was... I don't have a timeline, unfortunately. I don't know if Norman was in prison at this time. I have no context, but we all know Norman typically does not shoot. And I want to say the only exception to that.
Norman doesn't shoot, you said. I mean, there's multiple times where he's shot in his journal. It's like 3 times where he's shot in his journal.
This was long after his journal that Chastity Dawes was shot down.
Oh, okay.
So, do you think... Yeah, but that still doesn't make sense, because, like, why would he choose now to go after Tessa if he knew Tessa all this time? He would have known all this time that Tessa has morals.
Every person that has ever worked with Norman was killed. Everyone who's ever been friends with Norman has been killed. He's had 2 people work with him. Last person being Chastity. Chastity was
before that?
killed. Let me find that real quick. Give me just a minute. There's another person that helped. No, I'm gonna have to-
Wyatt and Rebecca.
Was it Wyatt and Rebecca?
Yeah, let me get it up. Wyatt was the last person to help him. Wyatt decided to help me out. Initially, we were looking for Snow, but had to settle with McCormick. Wyatt lured him in and we managed to get him. Took him to Stab City to send a clear message to Snow. No one is untouchable, not even you, Snow. Body dragged away to unknown location. And then
Okay.
the last thing he put in his journal was spoke to Pixie Plum. She may be just as crazy as me.
Okay, question. See, I've always been of the mindset, and I think a lot of people are, in that if you want to hurt someone, you don't target them, you target the people they care about, right? So then you make them feel guilty, and other people are suffering the consequences of their own actions, right? And when I say their own, I mean the person in question here. What if this is a way to get at Tessa by targeting Kiki?
What
if Tessa did something wrong?
That's why I'm thinking, like, I can't think of... I mean, I've not seen Tessa at the lighthouse ever.
Why would she show up if she had no involvement? How did she know to show up? And again,
Who
it's
invited
been
her?
mentioned. I don't
That's-
know.
That's what we need to figure out. We need to figure out who invited Tessa.
Well, person who gave out the invites is in the
She's
ICU.
in the ICU.
So that's out of the question. But I don't know. All I know is that Tessa and all of this is one big unknown, and we need to figure it
Winston
out.
wants to talk to me.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, probably about our conversation last night. We did want you to be there, but you were asleep.
I mean, is he welcome to join us here?
Yeah.
I trust Winston, so yeah.
He doesn't have a deal, does he?
No.
No, he's more of an outsider.
Another person that we do need to help is Ash.
Which Ash?
Ash Ketchum. I can't be involved because I don't want her to think that she's going to get witness tampering because she's Hydra. So I can't be involved in that. But Ash is in danger too.
You know, everyone was all in disguises and Ash shows up in a bowler hat with a cigar.
She said she literally came up to me and said, "I'm in my disguise. See, I have a cigar in my mouth."
Sorry.
Wait, does she have a deal?
I don't know if it's my place
Yeah.
to say.
Well, I mean, if she was there, I'm running under the assumption, right? But
Well, I'm going to say that she does, and I'm only bringing it up because the person she has to deal with is the serial killer that I helped kill.
Who?
Jasper.
Oh, Christ. Wait, I thought he was dead.
Uh-huh. So did I.
Yeah, which is I mean, if he is dead, there's no way for Norman to bring him back, right?
well, I mean, we're
Dundee
dealing
died.
with Norman.
Dundee's not dead. Dundee's in purgatory.
Yet we have his skull. So the question becomes, if people
are
can
you
die,
sure?
people can be brought back.
How do
Yeah,
we
you
know it's
sure
his
that-
skull?
Yeah, how do you know it's his skull?
I ran a DNA test. I was the one that ran the DNA test. And it came back a 1-to-1 to Erwin Dundee's DNA that we have on record.
Well, Norman literally told me, like, I mean, I know Norman lies, but I just Norman told me that the 3 people in purgatory are Cleo Shaw, Erwin Dundee, and Pez, and they're all in there.
When did you have this
because-
conversation?
Let me pull it up.
Do you know the chicken man's there?
He said that they were the only ones there.
The 29th of October was when I had this conversation with Norman.
He's only
29.
got three of them.
Yeah, he's only got 3 people in purgatory.
Okay.
Huh? Irwin
And they're in there because they're bargaining chips.
is and it was Irwin, Dundee, Pez, and who else?
Cleo Shaw.
I spoke to him briefly about Cleo. I like the girl a lot.
I don't know why he took Cleo. From what I can understand, is because she was stood on the platform when the night of the lighthouse. Dundee, I don't know. From what people said, Dundee had a deal and went through with it, and somehow he's in purgatory. But then TJ Walker shot Bass and killed Bass to bring Dundee back. Bass came back from purgatory because Brian now made a deal, but Dundee never returned. And from what Cody said, Norman only brings people back from purgatory who want to come back, which means Dundee doesn't want to come back, but why?
If people are in purgatory together, for example, Leo Shaw and her falling out with the BBMC and Irwin also being there.
See, that sounds like it would be hell. This is purgatory. It's nothing.
Purgatory is between life and death, from my understanding. It's not somewhere to hold people. It's somewhere where they go, and then you decide where they go after. I'm not 100% sure. You know,
I was told it was lonely. So even if they are all trapped there together, I don't think
They're
they
not.
are together.
They're not with they're not communicating with each other. Okay.
So from what Norman told me is everybody has their own. From what Norman and Cody told me is everybody has their own version of purgatory. If someone goes to purgatory, it's their version of purgatory. It may look the same, but it's not the same. People that have been to purgatory are Bryce, and for him to get out, he had to make a deal. Bundy was a field trip, and Cody. Cody ended up there when he was asleep, but he doesn't remember going to sleep.
Are you able to get into other people's purgatory? If you can think about their purgatory?
I don't know. I was willing to go to purgatory to speak to Pez, but me and Pez don't know each other, and I don't think that you can manipulate purgatory.
Well, yeah, I'm at a loss. I don't know.
What I don't understand is why Dundee, if TJ Walker went through with his deal to bring Dundee back, and with what Cody said is right about Norman can only bring people back that want to come back, that means Dundee doesn't want to come back. Does anybody know how Dundee died?
Not a clue.
I didn't even know he was dead.
I mean, technically he's not. I'm not gonna say that he's dead.
I mean,
He's
we would
existing.
perceive him as dead, you know,
Yeah,
and
but he's not.
given the
dead.
circumstances.
It just blows my fucking mind that I never knew that he was even dead or not dead. I don't know. Do you remember when he told me he was a therapist, locked me in a cage, dressed up as Diaz, and tormented me? I killed his fucking brother. Like,
When I spoke to Chip from the BBMC, he never brought up Dundee. He brought up Pez. He brought up wanting Pez back. Which means, why don't the BBMC want Dundee back? If they don't want Dundee back, why are they involved in this? That's what I'm trying. Like, either the BBMC don't want Dundee back, or he doesn't want to come back because something happened. And I don't really know anything about Dundee. I just know that he was BBMC.
Hey, what do you think would piss off Norman Bones the most? I think it would be him being locked in a padded white room with the inability to speak with anyone, to hold anything above their head.
I mean, you can try and lock him in Parsons. This begs my question: is he mentioned Pixie in his journal, and he said she was crazy. I've seen Pixie talking to Norman.
Like on the lighthouse?
Yep, the night Cody was shot by Colin, Pixie was seen talking to Norman. And everyone keeps saying Pixie's just Norman's therapist, blah, 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 blah. Which I don't think's true. I mean, I haven't seen Pixie for a few days, but I don't know. After seeing her here at the lighthouse and her saying nothing about what happened to Cody, and then hearing that she was seen speaking to Norman, it begs my question as to, is Pixie involved? And if so, why?
Pixie is involved, and I don't know why.
There's a Porsche?
Yeah. She is involved. She got near Dark yesterday and proceeded to throw up.
Huh?
Did I not bring that up? Did I not
Nope.
talk about that?
Nope.
No.
That was completely not on purpose. Hi, Winston. So, yeah, the last couple of days, Pixie's been throwing up.
Okay.
And it started after Matt, the other thing.
Yep.
And while she was in the ICU room and approached Dark, I was away. And I came back, and Pixie ran up to me and said, "I just threw up. Where were you?" And I was like, okay. So this is her second time throwing up. I picked up the feather and I put it near her. I said, don't like walk up to it. I said, but get as close as you can to this. Let me know if you feel anything. She goes, no, I don't feel anything. So I don't think it's to do with the feather, but I was curious. Because the only thing I had running in the ICU at that time. But Pixie has not been feeling very good. And she has been like staying far away from Norman. But this brings up who is the one person that Pixie ran into that wasn't Norman. And it's that one thing that I'm going to leave there.
One thing that we cannot say.
He just like, I love masturbating with toothpaste and
But other
fucking
people
drinking
could
vinegar.
probably bring
My
it
name
up.
is Shaw. I shit you not. That's what he called and said to me.
This is also a social cue to let other people use their imagination.
Hey, Forcer.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, how do I bring this up? Fuck.
Also, I believe there is somebody you have met or somebody that you know that they're not allowed to talk about, but you have the free will to.
I wish I had a bell.
It's complicated.
Okay.
There's a part of this equation that neither myself or Flop can talk about. And it becomes very complicated because the discussion was also incredibly vague in terms of how we can or cannot discuss.
Okay. Right. Do you want me to go through all of the notes I got?
For
So he
Hmm.
was
I
just
feel
a
like
rat, but
right
would be
now,
helpful.
I feel
Listen,
like
I
right now
got-
we're running in circles, and like we have less than 24 hours.
Well, I understand that, but I've got if it was something, was there anything that was discussed at the meeting last night?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Let me go through my notes then. Norman was born in Chicago 60 or so years ago. He has a brother. His dad killed his mother a few years back.
Who's his brother?
Isaac.
What does you have on Isaac?
Nothing.
Well, no
That was quick.
disrespect. Myself and you, Storm, are fairly new to this whole scenario and the city as a whole. Norman's a lot older than both of us. What do you know about Isaac from before?
There was only, I mean, I know there's an Isaac Wagner. There was a doctor a long time ago.
What does this doctor look like? What's this doctor look like?
He always wore black and gray. He had white hair, white gloves.
Okay, does he look like Zuri?
Yeah.
Pixie was talking to him the other day. Let me pull it. I'll tell you when.
Ding, 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 we have a winner.
I keep notes sometimes.
You really fetch that out of the mail? God damn it, Bob.
Flop, have you ever just considered keeping your mouth shut? Rather
Yeah,
than
sure.
needing something to occupy your mouth?
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween? Question mark? Maybe.
So 3 days ago?
Yeah. I was still outside Viceroy, and I saw Pixie talking to somebody who I thought was Zuri at the time. And then they like went off, go and speak somewhere, and then Pixie came back, and that guy, I don't know where he went. I mean, I thought nothing of it, but I just noted it down anyway because Pixie was seen speaking to Norman. So I just like noted it down because that was like the first time I'd seen Pixie since
Do we have a
I saw it
last
the-
name for Isaac? Or is Isaac his last name?
I mean, it was Dr. Smith.
Isaac Smith. Okay.
I mean, we don't know any of what you're talking about, but yeah. You go, Flop?
Yeah, I'm good.
Try and skirt around.
There's so many
the
things I want to
guys.
say.
Yeah, let's. What was our discussion the other day, Flop?
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Wait, you taught him that? How'd you do that?
No.
Well,
I-
it started
I
with
told him
Norman.
that.
After I presented and showed him said ball gag and realized I should just stop doing the dumb shit that I keep doing. And
You know what, Flop? Hold
What?
on. Let me just run this past some pretty sane people here. To indicate that you would be quiet, would you drop
I'm
a
already aware.
ball gag in front of the person you intend on being quiet in front of? Or do you think that person would perceive it as oh, they want me to shut up?
Oh, yeah, I would totally take that as,
Mm-hmm.
I told him it's not for him and that it was mine. But I think that we are getting off topic a little bit, don't you think?
Sure. Whatever.
Yeah, if we didn't have so much time for constraints, I would love to rag on about this, but
I'll say this. Um. We may have thought of something to do with a certain someone, and
Okay.
despite them having been gone for a while, within a day or two, they were around.
Hold up.
And
Wait,
Sorry.
I'm so confused. This is so cryptic.
I've just sorry. I just think it's funny. The idea we've got two brothers here, one of whom, if it is the same one, went into the field of medicine helping people, and the other became a serial killer.
Wait, sorry, they're brothers?
What if him being a doctor was a cover-up?
Well, I've seen that many times. But you say they're brothers?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know if it's the same person. I'll be honest with you.
I mean, if they are brothers, then that means that Norman Bones probably isn't his real name. I mean, I feel like that's the case anyway. Reading his journal, he had so many aliases, and then when Snow presented the name Norman Bones to him, that's when he started calling himself Norman and the God of Death.
But he was human then, I guess.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he never really stuck to a name until Snow presented the name Norman Bones to him.
How do we know that Snow didn't get his name right?
Because in the journal, he uses different aliases.
Alias is just a different name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and-
get
Norman
that,
yeah.
Bones
but
could just be his correct name, and Snow just found out what the correct name was.
Yeah, but
since it's
what I'm-
out there,
yeah,
why not just keep using it?
I don't know.
Instead of just constantly hiding, and Snow can just be like, no, his name's Norman.
I mean, I don't know. I just think it's weird how he went from being very secretive and kind of trying to be under the radar to.
But once you get discovered, in my experience with a lot
I mean,
of...
he was discovered.
Yeah, he was discovered, and his name got leaked when I was dealing with Chastity. And as soon as I knew it was her, she didn't hide it anymore. She was very open and
Like a-
honest about it.
like a badge of honor at that point.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
hey,
well,
you
got
found
it.
me.
I'm
but-
still gonna do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, many serial killers will use some sort of alias or nickname until you find out what their real one is, and then they'll stick with their real name. Puzzle. The fun.
Yeah, for them it's
Cat and
fun.
mouse.
It starts fun, and then they start trying to use any mockery they can to. Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, it's started back just a little bit. So, Norman and Isaac are brothers. Norman and Isaac have any other family members?
The
Chat,
mother
this is
was killed.
unfortunate because
know
I
that.
have my
Don't know what happened
appointment to
the
get my
father, but
permanent
the
crown
father
put in.
was, again, if
And I
Norman
have to leave soon, which fucking sucks.
he's around 60 years old or so. So what are the chances the father's still alive?
Well, Norman is death. At this point, anything's possible.
All we know is that the father killed the mother. That there were two of them. Obviously, incredibly traumatizing.
Hold on.
One,
If the father killed the mother, wouldn't the father have gone to prison? And if so, who would take care of him?
His brother.
we don't know who's the older of the two.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, okay. The father went to prison. What are the chances the kids were placed in care? Has
Also
anyone had
true.
experience with foster care?
Not myself personally.
Because depending on how old the children were, what are the chances they went as a pair?
I mean, and like the thing is, like, who's to say that they're even truly brothers? Like, you know, you can call someone your brother even if they're not.
I think in this specific context, I don't think he would refer to someone as his brother, but have a different meaning to that as just
I
like
mean-
a really
I
good
mean-
friend or someone he considers
mean-
family but isn't.
Well, no. What if they're partners? What if they want the same thing, and they do it separately? You know, Norman goes down the serial killer path. His brother goes down the I'm a doctor
For
path
cry-
and harms people in
My
a
tooth.
medical way where people aren't going to find out.
But I don't believe anyone died under Dr. Isaac's care.
I mean,
He
Hey,
was working a lot.
maybe not under his care. I mean, who's
But-
to say that he didn't cover it up?
Hey, Orser,
Yeah?
is there anything about Norman in terms of how he speaks that might be a bit different than
A lot of people were mentioning he said we. He would
Are you
refer to
referring-
we
are
a
you-
lot.
Are you referring to Norman when you speak to him now, or are you referring to in his journal, or like before?
Well, I'm more so just trying to bring up a general point here, in terms of who you suspect the other individual to be, and whether or not you recall how they speak.
Very slow. He had a very. He speaks with such. I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like he's stern, but there's like a soft cadence to him. He was very articulate with his words. I always felt a little on edge around him, but I still felt safe under his care.
What about an accent?
English. Like very British.
His brother?
If it's the same man, the doctor I remember, he had a very, very English accent. Like that's the only way I can explain
But
it.
weren't they born in Chicago?
They were born in Chicago. If the father went to prison after the mother died, the chances of these two children staying together in the foster care system is 0 to none. It wouldn't surprise me if they were separated.
So,
Hey,
do
Matt,
you
can I
think?
talk to you on the side real quick? It's nothing personal. It's just there's things I can't. You get it.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe that Norman's made a deal to get rid of Tessa because he
He
no longer needs Tessa's
did
friendship? because his
say
brother's back?
That apparently from someone else, they did lose touch.
Who said it?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around.
I think
like,
Andy.
I feel like we're like.
I think the day when we were all
good,
like there,
I agree that
hanging
this
out,
information is good, but,
the day
like,
we fucked
I
up.
feel like it's not really helping.
And
with
if
the-
I think this
Yeah.
theory is believable, but even if it's true, none of this resolves the situation tomorrow, which is an issue.
I have another going theory, and I agree with you. Something I brought up with Pixie and was very careful on how I worded it with Pixie. And I could be just as careful with you because we don't know the constraints. Something that I can't tell anyone up there, unfortunately.
I was so
What?
close last night, so I'll let you go.
Um, Is it possible Norman has a deal with death? What's the one person? Who is the one person that Norman gets upset by when you bring up their name?
You
And would
know
it be-
who?
Arguable. Would it be arguable that Norman has a deal with death to protect someone, which is why the excuse is that he's forgetful or insert here. You get where I'm going with this?
Okay, let me try to. Are you implying that the brother is, or I'm a bit confused here.
What I'm trying to say is, does Norman have a deal with death? And if it were to be his deal with death, assuming that he has a deal with death for a minute with this going theory, who is the one person Norman has always tried to protect and literally cost other people's lives, including yours and mine?
We'll just say the person we can't discuss. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. With that said, does it bring up a potential argument to try and come to some conclusion on
Been at rock bottom for days,
that
and I ain't seen
relationship?
anything
Or is, because I don't know if that's going to help us for tomorrow.
Wait, did you also hear what Orser said?
About what?
No one has died under his care.
Now, how does that apply to us?
Well, I'm just trying to point out that if you want to build this reputation, being an outstanding person, and you may have the ability to sway whether or not someone lives or goes, you really want to build up this good reputation, especially given the circumstances, right? What do you do? You had a magic wand, and you wanted to be the most respected, you know, best looking person in your profession, your career, whatever. You wave that magic wand and you ensure that nothing bad happens, right? Nothing that can paint you in a bad light.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that also sort of give the implication that he may have the ability to? I don't know. I'm throwing out ideas.
I get where you're going. I see where you're going. I bring this up now, but again, I'm only stepping away from them so that they can talk, and so that,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not putting myself or yourself in a bad spot. But do we know if that even will apply to anything happening tomorrow?
I have no idea. Not a clue.
Okay. I wanted to bring it up, something to keep in mind. Norman does fear one person being found, and I think it's very interesting, and I don't know if it will save us for tomorrow, but it's something that I think should be noted. He's willing to kill 3 people over protecting that one person for some reason.
Any chance we get this pushed back? Think there's a possibility of more than just 2 days?
He's kind of put Dark on a timer, right? He told me on the phone that I asked him, I said, how do we get our 2 days back? I said, because this wasn't part of our deal. And he said that you were warned, and you warned me to let Dark know to not bring up the name. And I said that I would not, and that I tried everything in my power. And I said, what can you do to get us our 2 days back? And he said, next time you contact me, it's with a corpse. He then called me back after, and he said, change of plans, Kiki Pendragon. Call me back probably about...
Hear me out.
Mhm.
We jot her name down on a piece of paper and give it to him. Fuck, we can't do that. I'm sorry. I'm just going back to my normal self. I'm sorry. And then he said change of plans.
We buy Corpse's album on DVD and then put Kiki's name on it.
Oh my god.
Well, hear me out. It would be applicable.
Okay, and
You
let's
never
not forget.
specified.
Let's not forget what Andy said. Let's not forget what Andy said. He does not like when people fuck around. Okay? Listen, I had to pull myself back. I said it, but I
sorry.
took it back.
Okay, I take back what I'm saying too then. I'm sorry. Okay.
I have bad news.
What's that?
Listen, I know you might die tomorrow, but I'm getting a crown, my permanent crown put in later today, and I just can't reschedule this dentist appointment. I know this is really bad timing.
This is worse than Dark getting engaged. What the fuck? What is wrong with you guys?
Well, Flop, I just want to let you know that, you know, if... And actually, you know, it could be worse, Flop. It could be worse. I got a root canal done on my molar. And I'm pretty sure I can still feel things. And it was like a 2-hour root canal. And at the end...
Hospital or a specialist?
No. I went to a dentist, but here's the kicker. No, here's the kicker. Have you ever seen like a demonstration of a root canal? Like typically anyone who goes for one is like, oh, well, what do they do? And they look at like a diagram of what happens. They take this like tiny little thing and then they pull out like the pulp or whatever, whatever it is, right? The thing is, they kept trying over and over, and they didn't really communicate it, but it was almost like there was supposed to be an end that they never found. And they were just like, you know, it's probably not there, but the possibility exists, and you'll only find out in a year or 2 or 3 or 4 if and when it gets infected.
So it got infected?
No. That's what I'm currently dealing with now. I was pretty much told that...
if you have any feeling of any sort?
No. But when they did the temporary one for the actual fitting of the permanent one, I felt stuff that I feel like I probably shouldn't have. And I guess it's possible to have another canal. And maybe that's what I'm dealing with. But who knows? I'll never know until a few years and whether or not it gets infected.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a very important schedule.
Yeah, well. Otherwise, you know, I would totally because Flop, I care about you. Truly, I do. But the other reality is I've been up for a very long time, and after that that dentist appointment, I'm going to sleep, and it's not because I don't care about you, Flop. Truly, I do. I have been up actually now 24 hours. I don't see myself being around once my crown is put on.
Is Norman around that we can quickly get an extension?
I don't know. But
circumstances.
Yeah, trust me, I would love to be around, Flop. I care about you, and you might be dead tomorrow.
I can't contact Norman unless it's a corpse. But how the? Can I email Norman? Does Norman have an email?
I don't know. I have no idea. Listen, I'm
hire a pigeon.
Maybe.
A whole different world.
Well,
God damn it! Can pigeons fly through space?
No idea.
Okay.
But again, I just can't get this across enough. Flop, I care about you, but I also care about my crown. I'm sorry. You ever had a toothache?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty rough.
It's a lot more. Toothaches hurt a lot more than death. That's for sure.
Well, you know, maybe it'll be painless, Flop.
I mean, I'm hoping, but you know, listen. In case I don't see you, I'm gonna hope there's Wi-Fi in purgatory, and I will send you messages.
Selfies. Selfies.
Yeah, I'll send you selfies on how things are going.
Perfect. Okay. You'll probably be pretty lonely there. If you get a new number, give me like hey,
the sky is blue.
The sky is blue. Okay, perfect. Okay. And what about Ziggy? What do you want me to?
You could probably just tell him that, you know, hey Ziggy, since you couldn't be there to support your husband through any
Ziggy, it's time to make a deal. I think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
He's your husband. That's his responsibility.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. If I'm in purgatory, Ziggy needs to get me out.
Perfect.
Tell Ziggy it's time to make a deal if anything comes up,
Okay.
and you know, go from there. But
All right.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know what's going on, and we'll go from there. All right.
All right. I have to get this car fixed and brought back, so I have enough time to get ready for my dentist appointment.
Yeah, go for it. Go do your thing.
Hey, I don't mean to interrupt. Okay. I've already discussed this with Flop. I love him and care about him a lot. And he may be dead after tomorrow. However, I do have a dentist appointment.
Okay, so not only is his husband not there for him, but his dad's not there for him either.
Listen,
Everyone-
Do you know how
Everyone's leaving?
expensive it is? Missing
have-
dentist appointments?
I have my permanent crown being put on in a little less than an hour.
Go to your
I think
appointment.
we
Yeah,
understand,
yeah. Well, I
but
guess the
it's
point I'm trying
okay.
to make is
It's
I don't
okay.
want.
Flop can
I'm
scratch
not.
for
I'm
2
not a
hours.
deadbeat. Okay. I'm not a deadbeat dad. All right. But Ziggy is a deadbeat
might be
husband.
dead.
I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
I mean,
and
And
if
Flop might be
anything,
dead.
if anything happens, I will make sure of it that Ziggy has to make a deal.
Okay. Sure.
I think it's a good idea. I think it's
Yeah,
only
no,
fair.
I'm on
If
that,
Ziggy, if Ziggy had a problem,
He's
I'd make a deal
responsible
for,
for
him.
you. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
He's-
Listen, I gotta go.
You
I gotta go.
You go.
There's enough room in your car. Okay. All right. Perfect.
Yes.
I think
yeah,
we're
can
good.
drive
All
some
right.
more
I got. Bye. I'm sorry. This is a terrible day.